My father, Alan, froze at the terminal when a man in a navy suit handed him a thick envelope. My name, Clara Wynne, was written across the front. Beside him, my brother Nathan stared straight ahead, pretending none of it was happening. 4 days earlier, they laughed while I walked out of my mother's dining room after Nathan said, "You're not part of this family. Don't show up." I didn't yell. I just left. That Sunday was supposed to be a reset. My mother, Diane, called it family dinner, the way she always did, like repetition could mend old cracks. I spent the afternoon prepping lasagna in my tiny apartment, brushing garlic butter on bread, uncorking a bottle of red I couldn't really afford. It wasn't about the food. It was an offering. Proof that I still cared enough to show up. Their house smelled like cinnamon and old photos, too sweet, too staged. The laughter I heard through the door died the moment I stepped inside. My father gave a curt nod. My mother smiled like she was greeting a neighbor. Nathan lounged with one arm over his chair, bragging about a business deal I'd quietly rescued twice. I set down the food, steam fogging their plastic table runner. No one made space. Dinner unraveled in its usual chaos noise, commentary, performance. I sat quietly, heart pounding, waiting for a place to belong. They discussed an upcoming family reunion, casually tossing around hotel names and dates. I was invisible. Finally, I said, "Just let me know the date. I'll book early this time." Silence. Forks scraped plates. My father cleared his throat. Nathan didn't even glance at me. The air grew thinner. My voice had cost something. I poured wine and watched them talk around me. This was the script. Nathan, the golden child, Diane, the peacemaker, Alan, the controller, and me, the ghost. But ghosts don't ask to be seen. I did. Nathan leaned back and smiled that smug grin he saved for finishing blows. "You're not part of the family," he said loud enough for the ceiling to hear. "Don't show up." No gasps, no pushback. My mother pressed a napkin to her lips, almost smiling. My father slapped the table once and laughed sharp, tinny, final. I looked at the untouched lasagna, the meal I made with hope. I stood slowly, letting the silence crack. Nathan said, "Oh, come on, Clara, can't take a joke?" "You meant it," I said. He didn't deny it. No one did. "Clara, stay. It's just dinner," Diane offered thinly. "No," I said, sliding into my coat. "It's a message. I got it." Outside, the air stung. I held the still warm lasagna in shaking hands. Behind me, their laughter returned eager to refill the quiet. I drove home through fog, a single thought repeating with every turn. This is the last time I try to belong somewhere that bleeds me for sport. The morning after that dinner, I woke to sunlight slanting through my blinds, turning dust into slow-moving snow. My phone lay face down on the counter. No missed calls, no messages, no apology. For a few quiet minutes, I tried to pretend that this was peace. I made coffee, sat by the window, watched people walking dogs and carrying grocery bags as if the world hadn't shifted. The silence wrapped around me, soft at first, then it started to itch. By the second day, the quiet grew brittle. I checked my phone more than I wanted to admit, half expecting some version of concern. "Are you okay? Can we talk?" Instead, nothing. Their lives had apparently continued right on schedule without the inconvenient daughter who stopped paying attention and obedience. On the third night, I left my phone in another room on purpose. I told myself I was done caring, that their silence proved everything I needed to know. But my chest still tightened every time a car door slammed outside, every time pipes groaned in the walls. I kept waiting for a knock that didn't come. It arrived on the fourth day, but not the way I'd imagined. My phone buzzed on the counter. Nathan's name lit up with a text. "Hey, weird question. Did your bank block the transfer? The loan payment didn't go through. No greeting, no mention of dinner, just straight to the money." My thumb hovered over the keyboard, pulse steady. Then I typed. Me $, not family, not funding. I hit send, then I blocked his number. I expected my hands to shake, but they didn't. Instead, a calm settled over me, thin but real, like the air right before a storm, except this time, the storm wouldn't be mine to manage. An hour later, my father's name appeared on the screen. I flipped the phone over and let it buzz against the countertop until it stopped. The only sound left in the apartment was the low hum of the refrigerator. That night, I pulled out a shoebox of folded bank statements, receipts, and transfer confirmations. Years of emergencies with Nathan's name attached to the memo line. 200 here, 500 there, 1,000 when his business almost collapsed last winter. Under the lamplight, the numbers blurred into one long pattern, me bleeding so they could walk unbruised. I took a yellow highlighter and dragged it across every transfer linked to him. The pages began to glow in streaks of fluorescent confession. When I finished, I stacked the papers carefully and whispered into the quiet, "That's over now." The next evening, the knock finally came. Firm, impatient, entitled, then another harder. Through the peephole, I saw my father's shoulders, rigid and familiar. Nathan paced beside him, jaw tight, hands slicing the air as he talked. They pounded until my picture frames rattled. I stood in the center of my living room, both hands wrapped around a mug of cooling tea, and did nothing. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. I just listened until the knocking stopped and their footsteps retreated down the hall. Silence, I realized, is a mirror. It shows people exactly who they are when they can't use you anymore. 3 days later, I found an envelope on my welcome mat, plain white, my name written in my father's careful, old-fashioned handwriting. Inside, there were $20 bills, $400 in total. No note, no apology, just cash, a guilt payment, a hush fee. I left it on the table until the sun started to go down, until the room turned gold and everything looked softer than it really was. Then I picked up the envelope, walked to the trash can, and dropped it in. The soft thud of paper on plastic sounded cleaner than any sorry they could have offered. An hour later, my phone rang. Alan. I answered on the 4th ring. "Why?" I said before he could start. He sighed, the practice kind that always meant he was about to justify something painful. "The loan payment failed," he said quickly. "It's a mess, late fees, supplier issues. We just needed a few days' grace. It's not like we used you, Clara. Don't take it personally." I let out a single, quiet laugh. "That's the problem," I said. "You never did." He said my name again, softer this time, like gentleness could rewrite history. I hung up. After that call, something in me clicked into place. This was no longer about a missed transfer or a single dinner. It wasn't even about the money. It was about ownership and the fact that, for the first time, I'd stopped letting them spend me. That night, after hanging up on my father, I opened my banking app and scrolled through every emergency transfer to Nathan. 200, 500, 1,000. When I added them together, the total hit $20,000 in 2 years. I printed the statements and sat at my kitchen table, dragging a highlighter over each line with his name on it. Under the lamp, the pages glowed in yellow stripes. Years of my future poured into his crises. On the top sheet, I wrote, "This is who I've been. Ask yourself who you've been." In the morning, I slid the stack into a manila envelope and mailed it to my parents' house. No note. The numbers said enough. By afternoon, my mother's voicemails filled my phone. "Things got out of hand, sweetheart. Come for lunch. We'll talk. The family gets through these things, Clara. Your brother's under so much pressure. We're family." She used family like a discount code she hoped still worked. The next day, an email from Nathan arrived. Subject, repayment plan. He'd attached a color-coded spreadsheet explaining how he might start paying me back once cash flow improves next year. At the bottom, "Let's move past this. We're family, right?" I was still staring at that sentence when an unknown number called. "Miss Wynn, this is Thomas Reed from Greenlight Legal. We're confirming your co-signature on a $10,000 business loan for Nathan Wynn." My stomach dropped. "I never signed any loan," I said. A pause, paper rustling. "We've already noticed inconsistencies with the signature. You won't be held liable. We'll be in touch." When I hung up, my hands shook, not from fear, but from clarity. They hadn't just taken my money. They'd borrowed my name. I called a lawyer I knew from work, Mara Parson, and told her everything. She listened, then said, This isn't a misunderstanding, it's identity fraud. Save every document and message. I'll handle the rest quietly. For once, quiet would be on my side. That night, I created a folder on my laptop statements, screenshots, voicemails, Nathan's spreadsheet, and labeled it Paper Cuts. By morning, Mara had sent a cease and desist letter to Nathan's office and notified the bank. 2 hours later, an email came from Nathan. "You think you're better than us now? You'll regret this." I didn't answer. Instead, I drove to my grandmother Elsie's cottage. She opened the door before I knocked. "Took you long enough," she said. Over tea, I told her about the dinner, the money, the forged loan. She didn't look surprised. "They'll always step on you if you live on the floor," she said. "Stand up and they'll call you cruel for not lying back down." "What do I do now?" I asked. "You're already doing it," she said. "Just don't go back." 2 weeks later, Alan and Nathan stood in the middle of the airport, luggage beside them, when a man in a Navy suit approached. "Mr. Wynne, you've been served." Inside the thick envelope with my name across the front were the summons and the evidence Mara had gathered. I wasn't there, but she texted me one line: "Enough. They've been served." I didn't feel victory, just a clean, exhausted relief, like fresh air finally reaching a room that had been shut for years. Over the next weeks, the truth unwound itself on paper. The forged loan was voided. Nathan's accounts were frozen. My father's denials crumbled under documents with his signature. I didn't follow every hearing, but word traveled. Nathan's business collapsed. Alan's credit shattered. Diane stopped telling people about her misunderstood family because no one believed it anymore. One evening, my mother called. "I'm sorry, Clara," she said softly, "for all of it, for not protecting you, for letting them use you." I let the apology sit between us. "I believe you," I said, "but I'm not coming back to the way things were." "Will you come to the reunion?" she asked. "It won't be the same without you." "No," I answered. "I can forgive you from here." She didn't argue. "I love you," she whispered, and hung up. That night, I sat on my balcony with a blanket around my shoulders, the city humming below. On the table beside me, a slim envelope held the last of the receipts from Paper Cuts. I slid it into a drawer and closed it. Some truths don't need to be shown to keep working. They just have to exist. I made tea, turned off my phone, and listened to the quiet. For the first time, it didn't sound like exile. It sounded like a life that finally belonged to us,